The spirit of Elliot Rodgers continues to live on. So this story that I'm bringing to you is coming out of Florida, where you have this person by the name of Agustin Lucas Mariani, who is 20 years of age, who was romantically obsessed with this woman by the name of Delfina Pan, who, because he could not get with her, he went to her home and stabbed her to death. Now, I'm looking at this guy's picture and I'm looking at the darkness around his eyes. If you was to shave him bald, he would look like a teenage version of Fester Adams. I kid you not. Just like if you just remove the hair, like just the description I gave to you, now y'all probably can't unsee it. Like he got dark circles around his eyes. Like he looks like he has no soul at all in him whatsoever. He just looks like a shell of his former self. So because this woman did not want to be with him or be romantically involved with him, he decides to murder her at her home, stabs her to death. So let me go ahead and get into this story. A Florida man who became obsessed with a female coworker at a Florida restaurant is accused of murder after she was found stabbed to death outside her home. Delfina Pan, aged 29, had refused to date Agustin Lucas Mariani, aged 20, after the bartender continued to hound the Argentina transplant at the South Beach restaurant where they both work. He was so aggrieved by her continued rejection that he allegedly waited with a chef's knife on Monday night as she headed back to her apartment following her shift at the Kansas Bar and Grill and stabbed her to death. Mariani was so deranged during the attack that he ripped off his own shirt and then decided to turn the knife on himself, leaving him with a stab wound to his chest. He is facing second-degree murder charges. When officers arrived on scene, they found Mariani covered in blood from a self-inflicted stab wound to the torso and was lying on top of Pan's body, according to an arrest warrant seen by the Miami Herald. Now, this sounds crazy what I'm about to say, but the only way he could get on top of her was to damn near take himself out and just fall on top of her in a state of weakness. Crazy. Mariani's obsession with Pan had lasted for several months as he repeatedly declared his love for her. According to fellow restaurant staff that worked with the pair, on the day of her death, Pan finished earlier than normal at around 6:30 p.m. Mariani was down to work a double shift until 11:30 p.m., but left the venue and followed her home. Police found a large chef's knife at the scene that had come from the restaurant's kitchen. Mariani was identified in a police lineup by Pan's neighbor, who explained how the bartender arrived at the victim's apartment uninvited and waited for her there. When she arrived, Mariani asked to go inside her apartment to talk, but she refused. At that point, he produced the knife and, without being provoked, began to stab the victim, the arrest report states. Pan was pronounced dead after the pair were transported to Jackson Memorial Hospital. Mariani is still in the hospital recovering from his wound. Pan, who was from Argentina, was an inspiring graphic designer. She had been living with a friend from back home who had moved to Miami Beach 2 years ago. Friends told the Herald that Pan had always been gentle when turning down Mariani's advances in case it enraged him. He worked with us, a super strange boy, and nobody knew anything about his life. He went to work and did not say hello to anyone, Pan's friend told Zaire. So the only person he ever talked to was this woman that he was obsessed with. Now, mind you, he worked as a bartender. Bartenders are some of the most social people you will ever meet in any bar. So I find it very odd that he had a job there. Now, I don't know. I don't know if he knew her before she worked there. Well, I think they stated in this article that that's where he met her, or where they got acquainted, I guess you can say, if you even want to call it that, because it's very one-sided. Like, she didn't see herself in any type of relationship with this dude, and he couldn't see himself in anything but a relationship with her. And can you imagine what type of person he probably would have been like if she was to give in to his advances? He probably would have been so abusive. He would have probably been so controlling and so demanding of her. He probably would have smacked her around a few times. I'm not even just throwing that out there to say it, but based on his behavior to try to pursue her and then him ended up killing her, to be in a relationship with him probably would have been a nightmare. And that was the entire article. But yeah, that's crazy. But like I said, the spirit of Elliot Rodgers lives on. When I saw this, when this was sent to me, I said, this has incel vibes written all over it, without a doubt. Like, this guy looks crazy. Like, look at him. Look at the cut. Look at his face. Look at his eyes. That's how his eyes, like, he looks like he hasn't gotten sleep in days. He looks like a corpse. He looks like someone who's ready to be lowered 6 feet into the ground. He looks like some kind of a unwanted spirit. No wonder anyone wouldn't want to have been around him. He looks weird. He looks crazy. And what he did has solidified that he is crazy. Then tried to take himself out. He's even crazier. The guy's a psycho. And I hope that he gets the biggest punishment that they can possibly throw his way. But he felt like, oh, if I can't have her, no one can. But at the same time, this guy just took away a woman from her family. So imagine, they said she's from Argentina, so that means her family is back there. Imagine them getting the word all the way from across the pond that your daughter was murdered by some some knife-wielding maniac who was obsessed with her. They better hope that her family didn't have any connections to certain people that can come over and take him out. Although if that was the case, society wouldn't grieve over it. I know I wouldn't. Take out the trash, as far as I'm concerned. And this guy is the epitome of just that. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments.